Hello everyone and welcome back to This Week in Mythic Plus. Now this week we have Bursting, which means when an enemy dies, all players receive a debuff that makes you lose 10% of your HP over 4 seconds, and this effect does stack. Skittish, which means that tanks generate 75% less threat, and Tyrannical, which means that boss mobs have more HP and do more damage. So tanks, this week you want to keep your pulls to about 5 to 7 mobs max, just because of Bursting. If you take too much damage outside of Bursting and then include 7 stacks of Bursting on top of that, it could be a guaranteed death. So keep your pulls to less than 7 and you should be alright with Bursting. You do also want to have a high AoE and cleave damage build, just to be able to pick up everything a lot easier, and this is because of Skittish. The more damage you do, the more aggro you will have, so go ahead and increase that AoE and cleave damage potential. You do also want to keep taunt ready because of that Skittish, so just in case one mob does go away from you, make sure you have taunt ready to go. And you also want to use any DPS cooldowns you have on any big packs to keep them all on you. So for you prot warriors out there, something like Battle Cry, whatever can increase the damage you do will increase the aggro on them, so make sure you use those abilities on big pulls. Also, keep your defensive cooldowns handy for big boss abilities because we do have Tyrannical this week. So remember to slowly rotate your defensive cooldowns into any Tyrannical boss fight. DPS, you do want to wait about 2 to 3 global cooldowns before going in completely crazy on DPS this week. If you jump in and go all out from the bat, you are going to die to Skittish, so hold off for about 2 or 3 global cooldowns. If the pulls happen to be greater than 7 mobs because of a body pull or because of an incorrect pull, make sure you stagger the kills by 4 seconds, so just wait until your debuff falls off and then continue killing the mobs. Use any defensive cooldowns you have on big boss AoE damaging abilities. So something like Dantalian Axe's Shadow Bolt Volley, that can one-shot you if you're not ready for it, so save your defensive cooldowns for big boss abilities that are unavoidable so that you don't go down to them. Also make sure you watch your threat at all times. As much as I agree your tank should be doing the best job that they can to maintain aggro, doing low or restricted DPS while watching your aggro is still going to be doing more damage than pulling aggro and dying, so make sure you manage your threat. Healers, when the mobs start going down and those bursting affixes start being handed out, that's when you should start throwing out your AoE heals and start making sure everybody is topped off. Be ready to do big heals for any DPS that might pull off the tank, so keep a big heal handy just for that moment. As a healer, you should also be using defensive cooldowns when there's a big boss damaging ability going out as well, just because these can one-shot anyone in the party, including yourself. Overall this week, the difficulty is going to be a 5 out of 10. It's a very average difficulty, and that's because Bursting cannot be avoided, but it's not the worst affix that can happen to you, while Skittish can be avoided and Tyrannical can be planned ahead for, so these affixes aren't too terrible as long as you deal with them appropriately. The biggest threat this week are overleveled keys from last week. Last week we had a very easy week, so everybody pushed up to a plus 15 or so. So this week we are seeing a lot of very high keys starting at plus 13 and higher, and these keys are going to be very difficult because not everybody is ready for a Tyrannical, not everybody is ready for a plus 13 bursting Skittish dungeon. So this week, since it's a lot more difficult than last week, keep it to a plus 10. If you are going to be pushing, make sure you know the team that you're pushing with because that communication during bursting is very important. Also this week, make sure you keep your pulls relatively small, less than 7, and know what defensives to use for what dungeon you're jumping into because of Tyrannical. That does it this week. Thank you all for watching, and as always, good luck out there.